We are back with another episode of the Do As I Say podcast. And the name explains everything. Do as we say, not as we did. We made all the mistakes the first time, so we're going to give you advice on how to do it right this time. Each week I bring on really smart people, different founders or, tech futurists, sales gurus, operations masters, just smart people that can help you learn how to build a great business. So if you have any questions that you're going through in your own business, any challenges in your own personal life that you want us to go through, we answer those each week. So each week, me and a very smart person just answer real questions about what it's like to build a business. So if you have some questions and you want to send them through, we'll workshop them. Send them through to podcast@joeldtrapani.com. As always, I know that is a hard name to spell, so that is going to go in the show notes. I'm your host, Joel DiTrapani. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Igo, which is an edtech scale-up. We've grown it through Australia and the UK, and now we're focused on the US, which is why I moved to Austin this year. On top of that, I'm also an advisor and a coach in the product space. I did a bad job of building a product the first time we started the business, so I'm going to teach you how to build great product teams, because that's how you build great products. And today, I'm joined by Regina Gerbeaux, who is an exec coach at Coaching Founder and the co-founder of Isoform. Regina is a tactical, operations-driven coach for top-tier CEOs, operators, and investors who are obsessed with putting structure to chaos. Previously, Regina was the COO at Mochary Method and Chief of Staff to Matt Mochary, which really meant she had to put structure to chaos. She was also head of operations at OnDeck and founder of a profitably bootstrapped startup, which she sold in 2019. Regina is passionate about helping people of the highest integrity build successful companies and solve the world's most challenging problems. Really, Regina is an expert at the operations side of businesses and getting shit done, because she just gets so much stuff done all the time and is so on top of things. So I'm super excited to have the chat. Let's jump into it. Welcome, Regina. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm blushing like 50 shades darker right now because I didn't know that was the intro.
I like to never read the intro beforehand and just give people a surprise on the show.
Oh
But
my God.
look, before we jump into the questions, you got a lot of things going on right now. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you're spending your time? What are you working on?
Sure. I'll be very brief about this. So, as you mentioned, I'm currently an executive coach. I run Coaching Founder, and I work with CEOs and execs from really awesome, fast-growing startups. And on the other hand, I am the co-founder of Isoform, which uses generative AI to industrialize software development. You can kind of think of us like professional services powered by AI. And then otherwise, I spend my time working out at Orange Theory and practicing mindfulness meditations and doing podcasts like this.
I love it. Well, let's use that varied experience and jump into the first question. So I'm back. Don't worry, sponsorship Joel is here. You can stop stressing and just know that I'm here to look after you. And as usual, I'm here to tell you about our partner. This podcast is brought to you by Miro, which means Miro is kind of like the podcast's dad. And I'm your dad, so it's kind of like your granddad. Anyways, Miro is not just some digital whiteboard. Miro's capabilities run far beyond the digital whiteboard. It is a visual collaboration tool that my whole team uses, and any team can use to build on each other's ideas to create something meaningful together from anywhere in the world. Now, Miro can bring everyone together, but more importantly, they can bring all the different softwares that you use into one place. So no matter who's in your team or what you use to manage your company or your projects, all of that can come together in Miro to allow for real collaboration with all the information you need. Now, in the past, I have told you some stats about Miro, but I was doing some research today and I found some more stuff that just completely blows my mind. So Miro had a report done by an independent third party to see what the impact of Miro was within companies that have adopted it. So there's obviously tons of stuff in here, but I've cherry-picked these ones because I thought they were interesting. First one, people who use Miro or companies that use Miro have a 349% 3-year ROI. I don't know what the ROI is on, but 350% is freaking massive. Next one, I've got 5 stats here. Stat 2, $4.47 million in average annual benefits per company. That is a lot of money. And if you converted it to a different currency, probably even more, because my bet is that is US. Stat number 3, per user, each user who actually uses Miro is 15% more productive. Their level of productivity is increased by 15%. That is freaking insane. Just by using one tool. stat number 4. This one is wild, but a 19% increased employee satisfaction. So just by using Miro, you'll actually just keep employees longer because they like working for you better, which is nuts. And then lastly, stat number 5, a 1.15 million higher revenue. So increased revenue by over $1 million for companies that use Miro, which means that I'm gonna make sure my whole podcast company, which is just me, uses Miro, and hopefully we're gonna very quickly smash an additional $1 million on the podcast revenue, which is not close to that yet, by the way. Anyway, so get Miro, sign up today, and you'll get your first 3 boards free forever, and you'll get all of those benefits above. So sign up today at miro.com/podcast. And I'm going to spell it out as always, miro.com/podcast. All right, let's jump back into the questions. Question 1 today is called co-founder issues. To lead off, I have no intention of firing my co-founder, but something needs to change. We've been in business for a few years and have seen some very high highs and equally low lows over the last 3 to 4 years. We've worked through all of these tough circumstances together, and to his credit, he's sacrificed a lot to stay on board. While I have 6 years of experience in various different companies, he's always been in academia and unstructured organizations. Over the last 18 months, his performance has drastically dropped. I've tried many mitigation plans to get him back on track, but it's come to the point where I just need to be direct. Over the last few months, he's become less self-driven, missed important meetings, and cannot meet a deadline to save his life. It could be something as simple as providing material for a quarterly report, or investor homework, or as complicated as a customer deployment. We're never on schedule. Some of that admittedly is my own fault, as I've set deadlines that were unrealistic. Over the last 4 weeks, he's lied to me about why he's missed early morning stand-ups, rushed to customer development so he could grab lunch with his girlfriend, didn't show up for an investor meeting, and recently didn't put anything together for our quarterly report. I'm not sure how to provide him with the experience he needs and make him understand the importance of communication and timelines. He's an integral part of the business, and he puts in good work when he does perform, but his inconsistency is killing me. Any advice? From Puzzle-Headed Bet 554.
Okay, wow, that is a lot to unpack.
There is a lot there.
First of all, I'm so sorry that this person is going through this problem, because co-founder relationship conflicts, obviously, as we all know, are the number one killers of startups. But it sounds like they've been at this for several years. And beyond just being co-founders, my assumption is that if you've been building with someone for this long and you're noticing these discrepancies, this person probably cares very deeply about this other person. You know, it's not like they're just business partners. It seems like there's a deeper relationship here. And so, you know, the way I approach coaching, especially when there's some kind of interpersonal conflict, whether it's at work or personal, is understanding how to set aside the situation and digging deeper down into the root cause of what is causing really uncomfortable emotions. So in this particular example, it seems like the person who's asking the question is noticing how this person, his co-founder, is struggling at work. The first question I would ask is whether this person is okay in their personal life, right? If something is not working out on the professional front, I think it's always very important to look and evaluate what's happening outside of this, right? Is his co-founder, still behaving the same way and engaging in the same hobbies and activities and maintaining the same routine in his personal life? Are there other factors that are going on? And that's why I think relationships and one-on-ones between co-founders or partners or spouses or whoever is super important, just to make sure everybody is on the same page and sharing the same base level. So I would start there if this person hasn't already shared that conversation yet, checking in and setting the business aside and saying, look, friend to friend, what's going on, right? And if after all of that, and after the co-founder, the one who's posing this question, has made his co-founder or her co-founder feel heard and really understands the situation, and it is indeed about the work, the sense that I'm getting from even this dynamic based on this person's account is that his co-founder or her co-founder sounds very burned out. And it sounds like there is a lack of alignment in the things that this person is really, really good at versus the things that they're actually doing day to day. And that's starting to ripple down into the other responsibilities. Yes, we want to hold everyone on the team, including our co-founders, accountable, but we also want to do it with compassion and empathy, right? And so the way that this person has written this question or conflict makes it sound like they're on opposite sides of the problem, when in reality, they're on the same team. And so I think it would help if this person, rather than being combative, came to this side and said, look, how do we solve this together? Because the fact of the matter is, there's nothing wrong, by the way, with saying you're missing deadlines, you're not having deliverables. And this person did something really great, which is they recognized their part in contributing to this issue. They said, I set unrealistic deadlines. Okay, well, why are you the one setting deadlines versus collaborating with your co-founder on figuring out what is actually reasonable, right? A lot of this is going to take communication and both sides feeling like the other party respects them. Everything really comes down to respect when it's interpersonal conflicts like this. If the co-founder is on this side and being accusatory, this person is going to close up and feel fear and perhaps even feel anger towards their co-founder. They're going to think, wow, this person is judging me for wanting to have lunch with my girlfriend. This person is judging me because I'm going through insert thing that this co-founder doesn't know anything about, and they're not even showing me any kind of empathy. Once we've established a baseline of respect and empathy, then we can move forward into confronting the problem at hand. Is it true that this person is just missing things because they're burned out, or is there something deeper? Does this person really still see the vision of where the company is going to go? Because that's also really important too. Without understanding the official roles of the question poser, it's really difficult to assess, like, is this person the CEO, for example? The CEO's job is to set the vision and the mission for the company and to continue motivating the troops. That includes the co-founders. Yes, co-founders should motivate each other, but the primary person who guides where the company is going to be the CEO. And it sounds like this other person is more like an academia, maybe technical person, maybe not, maybe it's just research. But if that's the case, perhaps this person can do something to motivate this other person, that you can redefine the why and where you're going. Where can you find clarity in explaining to your co-founder why their work matters, why they matter in the grand scheme of the company, and then more personally, why they matter to you, right? So the last thing I would say is, why is it that this person doesn't want to part ways with their co-founder? And sometimes there are external factors that happen that cause someone to say, oh, I can never fire my co-founder. We've been building this together for so long, and that person would feel totally betrayed if I told them that they couldn't be co-founder anymore. Anyway, there's just all sorts of external reasons why somebody might feel fear in even asking that question. What will my investors think? What will the rest of the team think? We've been building this together for 3-4 years. The rest of the team is going to think that the company is falling apart. What's going to happen to the cap table? Is this person going to walk away with significantly less equity in order to not screw up everything on the finances side? All sorts of questions. They're all valid. And at the same time, I think if both parties are willing to work together, I think you can have a very reasonable outcome. Let's just say hypothetically that this academic co-founder turns out they don't want to be in this role anymore. They're like, you know what? I enjoy the work that I do on the research side, but all of these other responsibilities I can't handle. And I know that those responsibilities are part of being a co-founder. I want to be co-founder, but the reality is I can't keep up with all of it right now because I've got X, Y, and Z going on, and I've I'm at the stage in my life where I want to start taking things serious with my girlfriend. I don't know. Like, there's all sorts of reasons why somebody's priorities change over 3 to 4 years. It's a long time. Being able
Yeah.
to have that conversation and say, how can I keep you involved? Can you keep this person on as a research advisor? Can you ask them to hire their replacement because they're ready to walk away? Can you keep them on your board? Or is there something that you can do so that you can continue driving the company forward with the right people and in the best interest of the company, while also taking care of this person's feelings? So it's maybe a bit of a minor yellow flag, but I think in coaching, it's really important to challenge assumptions that our coachees come in with, which is, I can't fire my co-founder. Well, let's talk about that. Why not, right? You're not firing someone if you come to a mutually amicable decision to part ways. And I think we've seen that happen in several different companies, and they survive and they're fine. So that would be my advice for this person.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
It is a tough position to be in, because the puzzle head, you have to balance your responsibility to the company and your friendship. And they're two things that are not an easy balance. And if you have drifted apart and you have different vision and missions and goals, like that is a tough place and a tough position to be in, and a tough, I guess, gap to bridge. But I think, he has one line in here where he says, I think I just need to be direct. And that is the only way to push this forward. It sounds like he's tried everything to mitigate this in the past. Like, and my guess is the way he's done that is like clearer deadlines, like SMART goals, OKRs, like that stuff's all good. But at the end of the day, you're having a communication breakdown. You guys are misaligned on expectations here. And it feels like the company's suffering because of that. And the only way that gets solved isn't through some kind of mitigation of management style, or it's a real conversation. You need to sit down with this co-founder. It's not just go in and fire someone, because you can't just go in and fire someone. Like in this position, you've not had a real conversation. So I think you just need to have a really tough conversation with this person. And it fills me with fear to think about that. It's so hard. Like your relationship with your co-founders is so important. Like this person has been this huge part of your life. But like they probably don't understand the impact that they're making on you and on the business, and the risk that they're putting on the business. So I think you need to sit down with this person and just lay it all out. Like, I guess one thing that you said, Regina, that's really important though. You need to do this from a place of love. You have a strong relationship with this person, and it's not about attacking this person. You're not coming here to say, you fucked this all up. Like that's not what this is about. It's about saying, hey, we're in this position, okay? And all these things are missed, and it's starting to, put some severe impacts on the company. We need to get to the bottom of it. Like, what's going on with you? Like, where are you at in your life? Is it about your girlfriend? Is it about something else completely? Have you lost passion for the company? Because if you have, that's also okay. Like, but you need to sit down and you need to make it really clear. But you can't have flexible expectations on a founder. They have the most rigid expectations in the company. They have the highest expectations in the company. And if they're letting you down, you can't just let them off with a free pass, because that won't just impact their work. That's going to impact the rest of the company's work. If the rest of the company sees that you're just letting your founder off the hook, why would they work hard? I can just chill. If the co-founders doesn't have to do shit, I don't have to do shit either. So I would say be direct, be very, think about it, structure your conversation, but come from a place of love, come from a place of empathy and a place of care, and have this conversation with them and be like, here's how I'm feeling. Like, here's the issues I'm seeing. Let's work this through and get to an outcome there, but can only come from conversation, and have all the conversations you need until you understand. Because, you might not end up having to fire them. They might end up leaving, or they might end up, changing dramatically and be like, you're right. I haven't had my shit together. I haven't been focused. Also, there's so many outcomes here. Like, maybe your co-founder just needs a month off. That's also totally fine. Give them some rest. Maybe they are burnt out. Or maybe there's a personal situation where they need to work 2 days a week or something. Like, but you're only going to get there if you make it really clear and have that tough conversation, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think direct conversation is really needed here, with the with the ability to also steel man the other person's side. Can you help them see that you understand where they're coming from by steel manning their position, and then from there they'll understand, okay, well, this person understands me and they still have this thing that they want to address, and I'm more willing to listen as a result.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to wrap this one up. And the final judgment is, Puzzlehead, have the hard conversation. Go in from a place of empathy, go in from a place of caring, think about this other person and think about their feelings. But you still need to hold them to account, and you need to be very clear with them about the impact of their actions and their lack of actions. And then from there, that's the only way you're going to be able to move forward, because there's no other actions you can have. There's no mitigation that can fix this, apart from understanding where you both sit and then taking actions from that position.
Yes, and also don't just assume that you can't part ways with this person because you've been together for a long time.
Yeah, they might want to part ways with you. So understand
okay.
where they're at.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Puzzlehead, you've been advised. Regina, I'm constantly taking pictures, so if you've got a better way to sign off questions, let me know, because we're still unsure on the "you've been advised" pitch.
Okay.
All right. We'll move on to email 2. So this question's a lot shorter. This one is called, "What processes do you need at scale? My business has just got to 50 people, and I'm curious about your own growing pains transitioning from the early days of quick team decisions to a more formal process-driven company. More specifically, how did you identify what needs to be standardized? What departments struggled the most with establishing process? Was it a natural transition, or did you have to consciously make changes? Any advice would help. From Sharknado 11.
Sharknado 11.
Yeah, great name. Absolutely the GOAT name we've had on the show so far.
Fantastic name. Maybe I can talk about personal experience, because I went through that growth from 20 people to 150 on deck. And then we can kind of trace back from there and try to figure out a framework. Every company is going to be very different. So hopefully having stories will help this person figure out where the struggles and pain points will be for them. So at On Deck, we, for context on those who don't know what On Deck was doing back in 2021, we were running 8-week to 12-week long fellowships for builders, founders, investors from all different walks of life. All of the fellowships were remote, online, so anyone from anywhere in the world could join a world-class community. And so when I first started there, I started as an operations intern of all things, and was probably, employee number 23, something in the 20s for sure. We ended up growing to 150 people by the time I left, which was about a year later.
That's massive scale.
Massive scale. We went from 20 to 100 in, I think, 3.5 months. There were some days where we were onboarding, 12, 15 people a day. And the reason for that is because we were a very operations intensive business, obviously running fellowships and having people-centered product as the main offering was going to require a lot of oversight and support from other people. And I would say, towards the early days, we were just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what stuck. And I think the founder fellowship really was an incredible offering that, the early team was able to figure out that people craved being in community with other people who were on similar trajectories, so you could build together and have that camaraderie and shared experience, as well as help each other out through the tough times. So now that you have a better understanding of what the product was, I think for a company like On Deck, if I were, the C-suite or advisor for the company, I would ask myself, what are the most important levers that have to scale along the way for this product to be successful? And I think a couple of things were clear. We had to have a great candidates division to make sure that all of the fellows that we were letting into the programs were world-class and really aligned with our values. Values is also something that can translate not only in product, but also in the company itself. So no matter what, if you're at 50 people, industry agnostic, you have to have a set of values and anti-values on who you're working with and what the ethos of the company is. And I think you've seen plenty of different values and missions and visions for many different companies. I don't think that there is a right or wrong set of values. I just think they have to be very intentional and very clearly spelled out to the rest of the company. So values definitely will drive a lot of the decision process on where you need more structure. So for us, because we were all about people first, like the fellowships and maintaining a high quality caliber, we needed a really, really strong candidates division and a really strong operations division. And so those are going to be the places where I think structure really matters when you're hiring a ton of people. Like I think I hired 20 or 30 people in a quarter and a half and had to train all of them and deploy all of them. I think that's when structure really mattered. And so for me, I studied where we were hiring a lot and what kinds of support those people were going to need. And a good kind of rule of thumb, I think, for structure is if you have to say it more than 2 or 3 times, or you're hiring extensively for that role, write it down. I spent all of the winter holidays just working through and writing every single piece of documentation down for every ops person and program director that joined. And that's the kind of work that's needed when you're scaling so quickly. I think the other thing is, for structure, there are definitely going to be pain points when everybody is used to moving fast and perhaps having less structure. So clear communication from leadership on why we're implementing some kind of process and tying it back to the values. So that's why values are so important, right? Like tying it back is going to help everyone have a shared common understanding of why there's going to be structure in place. You can caveat by saying, look, we're not turning into a giant bureaucratic company enterprise that has all these arbitrary rules for no reason. But the fact of the matter is, if we're putting people and service first, these are the structures that we need because we're hiring all these people. And therefore, even if it takes you a little bit of extra time, I would like you to go and do this so that everybody knows what page we're on and there's zero ambiguity, right? Explaining it that way goes a really long way. Otherwise, if you don't explain, then people just think, oh, this is becoming, a giant bureaucratic enterprise. I'm out. And then, so communication, looking for where you're hiring the most and where you're going to have a lot of repeated information. And then I think as product, maybe Joel, you can talk more about this because you are a product coach, but I think in the early days, as you're searching for product market fit or even just trying to figure out what the earliest MVPs are going to be, it can be a much more quick iterative process, especially if you're an in-person team sitting with the same people 12 hours a day. As you hire more, or if you're remote or whatever, there's all sorts of caveats that will change sort of the product ops process, or like how much structure or how little structure you need, so long as you're actively communicating with the team and you're not allowing structure to exist just because it needs to exist. Like there should be a very concrete reason that you can say to someone, here's why this exists. I think you're going to be okay. But that's probably where I would say the line gets fuzzy and you have to use your own discretional thinking. Like never allow structure and process to exist just for the sake of structure and process, because if you've hit that, then you're taking away a lot of potential fast momentum that startups can have and capitalize on in order to outrun the incumbents. But if you can define it and it's a clear enough use case where there's multiple people perhaps being hired on or having to do the same things over and over again, I think that's a good sign for there to be structure. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Joel?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I just on that last point you make, structure for the sake of structure will destroy a startup. Totally. So just like, being complete chaos can also destroy a startup. But I heard someone say recently that whatever structure and operations that you invest in it should be there to make things easier. So if the outcome of this structure that you've put into place means that your company can achieve more, then it's worth doing it. If it actually hinders and you've overstructured something, or you put too many, hoops to jump through, and you've actually prevented the company from doing work, then you shouldn't have it. Then that's too much. Like maybe at an individual level, an individual contributor might see a slight decrease in their output. But overall, you should see massive increases in output with the structures that you're implementing, because there's better communication and people are working on the right stuff. Now, I will say that I've never scaled a business to 50 people. So I would say though is that from all the founders I speak to, I've scaled a business to 30. I think 25 to 30 in a remote team requires the same amount of structure as an in-person office at about 50 or 60. So I think I've probably gone through a similar level of operational scale as this person is going through. And I definitely am guilty of overstructuring a bunch of times and cutting it back. So always be willing to cut back structure too. Just because you've done something doesn't mean it's right. It should iterate and get cut continually about what makes your company move faster. I guess like every company is a little bit different, but I do think that there are fundamentals that are always the same. And as just a quick hack, like I recommend this book all the time, but The Great CEO Within by Matt Mochary, who Regina used to work for, is actually based at companies of this size. So just read that book and it will give you a ton of good advice about exactly what structures you need to have and examples of what that could look like. But if I take that a level, I guess, and not specifically what you need, I think the one structure and the one kind of operational scale you need is expectations. Having very clear expectations at every layer of the business is the only thing that works. So what is expected of you in your role? You need to know that. What is your boss expecting you to do? You need to know that. What is this team expected to achieve this quarter? They need to know that. What is the company expecting to achieve this year? You need to know that. So you need to have a structure that at every level makes expectations very clear and how you're tracking against expectations clear as well. So if I'm expected to do X, Y, Z, that's good that I know that, but then I need my manager to know that I'm actually achieving that or I'm not going to achieve that too. So things like OKRs at the company level, really important. Things like OKRs at the team level, really important. And things that I call expectations documents, that every single person in my team has a document that says, here are the 10 or 15 things that I expect you to do to be successful in your role. This is what success looks like. And every month we touch base and we say, are you on track or not? And we need to have a conversation around it. So I just think expectations at every level is so key. And having the right tools to make sure you know what's expected of you and everyone knows what's expected of you and if you're on track, I think that's the number one thing. I think everything for me falls out of that. Also just hiring. Getting good at hiring is so key. And I wasn't at the beginning. And no one will be at the beginning. It takes a while to get good at hiring. So formalizing that process as you go through it, I think really helps too. But for me, it's secondary. I think expectations is the number one thing, at every level, understanding the who, what, when, where, why, how, and sharing that widely.
Yeah, I think expectations and hiring both tie back to values. And that's why I think defining values is really important early on. You'll have a really excellent framework from the earliest days that will define the culture of what you expect, right? I think AngelList is a great example of being a very values-driven sort of company. And they're hiring. They believe in hiring fast and firing fast if the fit is not right. They believe in hiring basically ex-founders or people that are driven and autonomous. And when you have people like this, perhaps the need for structure is a little bit less or minimal because these are people that are very incentivized to doing the right work, but you still need values to align all of these people. The hows might be different, but the what and the why is still the same across the board. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Values and like mission vision, that's the number one thing. Like you definitely need that from very early because that's what all the expectations and goals point towards. So if you don't have a clear understanding of where you're going, for me, that's just a larger expectation. Though. It's like, what can I expect of the company to achieve over the next 10 years? So having that really clear, having the values is important too. How do I expect you to act in this company and to not act in this company as well? And so that should always flow through. So yeah, I totally agree with that one.
And then taking that and making that define what kind of structure you have. The values have to inform the structure, and it's going to be case by case dependent. But totally agree with expectation setting being something that is important and a necessity for every single company, regardless of industry.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this one up for Sharknado. The final judgment is make sure you have mission and values. That's really key, and everything will fall out of that. And then underneath that, use that to define what kind of structures and tools that you need in your company, with expectations being at the core of that. What do individuals need to do? What do teams need to achieve? And what is the company going to achieve? And how do they flow into each other? And how are you being held accountable to that? And we're gonna wrap this one up there. That's the only questions we have time for. So we'll head to the last section of the show, which is everyone's favorite, plugs. So Regina, what's going on in your life? What would you like to plug at the moment?
Sure. Well, if people want to find out more about my coaching, I am reachable at coachingfounder.com. Shout out to the Slam Media Lab team for putting together my website, plugging them here too. And then if you want to find out more about what I'm doing on the startup front, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just mention that you heard me on the Do As I Say podcast. And I am reachable at Regina Gerbeaux. You can find the spelling in the show notes. You can also find me at _RPGBX on Twitter. And that's it. Stay safe and stay healthy.
We'll put all that in the show notes so you can just click a link. And then on my side, as always, like and subscribe. Get out your phone, hit subscribe right now, hit 5 stars on your favorite podcast platform. And then also pull out your family's phone, your friend's phone, strangers' phones, like and subscribe on their phones too. And thank you to everyone who writes these questions in. We love going through these questions. They're super fun. If you have a question that you want us to talk through, send that through to podcast@joelditrapani.com. And lastly, if you want to talk about, challenges in your business, challenges in your life, specifically, I love product stuff. I love talking about this. Let's get on a call, book some time with me. I've got a booking link in the show notes too. So I'd love to meet the audience and work out what's going on in your lives and your businesses. And that's all for plugs. So let's wrap this one up. Regina, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for laughing with us and arguing with us. I love the conversation as always. This has been another episode of the Do As I Say podcast. We'll see you all next week.